All right, well, let's take a look, a refresher of where we're at with this. As it's been a while since I worked on this one because I've been editing all the other stuff. So I've got it nicely packed away in this little box. So here you can see the engine stand. Now this part here, this has to go mounting on here like this, and that is meant to go onto this part here. Like that. You can see here, that goes on there like that. This part here, it goes on to here like that. And then the whole thing kind of sits like that there. Or, whoops, that's upside down. Goes like that. So then it has a nice place to sit. So I've already gone ahead and painted this orange. I guess that's like some kind of a rubber seal. It's come off where the aluminum is, so I'm gonna have to retouch that. So that's good. Maybe that's where we should start. And what I'm using for that is I've got this stuff from Model Color, Vallejo, and it is called German Orange. And looking at references, I've decided this is the one that I'm happy with. Unfortunately, that metallic paint really doesn't offer much tooth for that water-based acrylic paint to grip. So I've had to touch it up a few times over the last few days where I've been working with this, but it's not a big deal. Next time I might do it a bit differently and mask off that area where the orange is so no metallic paint gets on there. The other thing that you may notice here is at the top of this picture there's that V-shaped thing. That also is an orange seal that I needed to paint, and I painted it before, but the paint would go into the recesses and it wouldn't actually go all the way down, and then I would get these little air bubbles and it didn't look very good. So I actually had to strip that all out, and I painted the area green again because it was a bit messy from when I cleaned it out. So here I am trying to paint it again, and this time I've thinned down the paint a little bit more. But in thinking about this next time, what I might do is before I spray the green, I may spray the orange on this area first, just to have that all painted, and then once that's painted with the airbrush, I'll mask it off and then paint the green part. I'm thinking I might try and find a lacquer-based paint and see if I can get the color that I've got with this water-based Vallejo acrylic, because the lacquer-based paint I think would get down into the crevices a lot better. Of course, I wouldn't brush paint the lacquer paint, I would airbrush it. So everything would have to be masked off, and then I would airbrush the orange. So this process takes a few applications because I have thinned the paint down to get down into those tight crevices. So here I'm using some double-sided tape, and I'm going to use a cocktail stick or you know, one of those Starbucks stir sticks that you can get. And I'm putting the tape onto the stick, and then I take the piece that I want to paint and I put it on there, and then I'm going to spray that with the 1500 Black Mr. Surfacer, and then on top of that I'm going to be painting it with a Mr. Metallic Iron. I'm not going to worry too much about the green paint and everything that I would maybe put on top of this, because this will never be seen. This is what mounts the engine to the base. Now what I'm doing here is I'm checking off and making sure I see all of the decals that I have to put on. So I'm using a highlighter, going through the instructions, and just making sure I make note of every one that I need to put on. The kit comes with a nice set of decals, which includes a whole bunch of data plates and other markings. And also you can see in this bag I've got all the 3D printed shackles that are required. Unfortunately mine broke. I may have inadvertently broke them when I was cutting them off the supports. And all I can say is just be very careful when you go to take yours off. It's kind of hard to understand what parts are what when you first look at this 3D printing, but yeah, just take your time and you won't have as much issue with me. So what we're going to do here before we start getting into the deckling is I want to glue these air conditioning units in place. And before I can use the glue, I'll need to scrape off some of the paint just so that I have a good connection with the glue. So after using some rubber bands to make sure everything stays glued together, I'm going to take the transmission part and I'm going to take the air cooling unit and I'm actually going to glue those together now at this point. So here I am, I'm going to be cutting out these decals and I'm using a really nice sharp scalpel blade and I'm just using regular water, just tap water, and I'll just put it in place, and once it's in place I'll tap it down with a earbud or Q-tip, and then I'll put a little drop of the Mr. Mark Setter. Although there's not that much contour on here, it's just force of habit, And now a lot of the decals have been put in place on the power pack. I'm going to just do a little bit of dry fitting and figuring out how everything should get together. Here I'm just kind of buffing out this metallic color. Even though it's not going to be seen, I'm just going to give it a nice buff. And then here I'm just gluing it in place with a little black cyanacrylate glue. And then I'm just going to do a little test fit with the stand. And here I'm just kind of doing a test fit, dry fit, see how the transmission and the engine fit together. But I need to do some dust aging on the transmission part of the kit, as well as some other aging with washes and whatnot. However, prior to doing that, I still need to attach a couple of other pieces that go on the top of the engine. There's a tread plate that needs to get in place, as well as another piece for the top of the engine. So again, I have to scrape off the paint, make sure I have a nice secure adhesion. If you use glue where things are painted, your grip is not going to be very good. The welding of the plastic is not going to be very good. Sometimes you can get away with it depending on the situation, but here I just wanted to make sure I had a good contact between just pure plastic and the glue. And so once that's all in place, I'll just make sure that there's enough glue in place to hold everything in place, and then I'll put on this other little piece, and then we'll get into doing some more of the different kind of washes, the dust wash, you know, the pin wash and stuff like that. So here I'm just taking some of the Tamiya buff color, I'm mixing a lot of water with it, and then I'm just going to go and apply a nice dust wash to all of the transmission bits that never got any before. All right, with all that dust aging, the dust. All right, now with all that dust wash in place, I'm going to come back with a Q-tip that has a very little minuscule amount of alcohol, rubbing alcohol on it, on the tip, and I'm going to just carefully remove any of the excess that I don't like. All right, so what's next is some pigment aging, and I'm going to use a dark one first, and then I'll come back in with a lighter one. But I'm just going to be basically applying this with a brush and just dusting it here and there, and just thinking about where things might accumulate as I'm doing this, like definitely in the crevice between the transmission and the engine. Like, there's probably going to be a lot of gack in there, you know, oil probably gets a lot of dirt stuck to it in that area, and also it's just not accessible, so things would naturally build up. And then not so much on the side here, but of course everything will get an even coating and make it look good. I'm not going to put so much like in the cooling fins or anything like that. So like I did with the oil wash, this time I'm going to clean up any excess pigments with a Q-tip that's got just a little bit of water on it, and I'll go around and take off any excess pigment that I don't like how it looks, and just tidy things up. Okay, now that the pigment is on, I want to go back in with some of the dark wash from AK, and I'm going to use some paint thinner to help move it around and spread it, and this will add another layer of aging to this nice old Leopard 2 power pack. This will help bring out some of the details. Even though we've done a bit of a dusting, this is more like thinking about it like, you know, some kind of oil deposits maybe, or something like that. But it'll also help pick out some of the details. So as you can see, I'm dipping into the oil wash, and then I'm going into the paint thinner, and I'm kind of looking for the right consistency. And it's not necessarily going to be equal everywhere. Maybe some areas it's a bit stronger, some areas it's just more of a really thin wash. All right, it's time to finally permanently attach this base onto the power pack. And for that, I'm just going to use some rubberized black cyanacrylate glue. And I'm not really putting too much glue on the other end of it. I figure this part here is maybe going to hold it. And now I'm going to take some white, and apparently this lid here needs to be painted white as per the instructions. So the parts that come with the kit that are for the exhaust pipes, quotation marks, they look very smooth. When I look at photographs of these things from the real life, it looks to me like they may be some kind of woven fabric of some sort, because when I look at the pictures of the real things, there's different indentations and folds, and it does look like it's a weave pattern. And I don't know, but I suspect it's some kind of heat resistant material of some sort. But anyway, I've decided to add a little bit of texture to the surface by using a band-aid. And what I'm doing is I'm just basically cutting it to the widths required, and then I'm just sticking it on and making sure everything looks tickety-boo. And then once it's on there, I'm going to come back and spray it out with a white, and then I'll also come back into it with some pigments to do some aging that I see that's in photographs. So hopefully this is going to add a little bit of flavor and interest to this area. As you can see in some of these photographs that of the real thing, they can get pretty dirty. So just doing some test fitting, making sure everything works the way it's supposed to work. And once I check that, I'll just glue everything in place, and then I'll start doing some aging with the pigments. So I'm going to use some Mr. Finishing Surfacer White 1500, and also I'm going to use some of this bare metal to give it a real metallic feel for where these things have a retaining collar of some sort. So now that the power pack is all together, it's time to tackle this sling part, and it's time to add the decals. I should have actually done a gloss clear coat, because when I put this one on, I got a little bit of silvering. So I know some people out there say you don't need it, but you know what? I've been doing this a hell of a long time, and I also work in the film industry, and I have a fair amount of experience with how things work. And if I'd use a gloss coat on that sling before I put the decals on, I would not have had any silvering. So anyways, there's quite a few little data plaques that need to go on here to give it that nice authentic look. Alright, now that those decals are in place, we can take a look at the other parts that make up this sling, particularly the shackles and the cables that are used to attach the sling to the power pack so that the power pack can be lifted out of the AFV. Now, these little parts are very fragile and brittle, so just go carefully. I ended up breaking a couple of pieces off on mine, but I've managed to cobble together some repairs. But again, just be very careful. So here I'm just getting them ready to get a primer coat on, and then I'll give them a metallic color. And when I look at reference materials, they seem to be a really hot, almost aluminum looking color. So just look at some references and you can see what I mean. So I needed to melt and stretch some sprue to fashion a V-shaped piece of plastic that I needed to have to replace a part that got broken off and then lost. So this is actually a part that attaches to a little piece of cable, and then it goes up inside the sling on the end there. And at first I tried to repair it in place, but it all kind of came off, and I just repaired it where the sling was no longer attached to the power pack. But in the end it all went together and I'm fairly happy with it. I'm actually really looking forward to the next time I build this, which will be in the full interior LEOPARD II A6 from a Ryefield model. Hopefully I can bring that one to you soon. I've just got so many projects though. Alright, now we get to do some aging on those pristine white exhaust pipes that are in the kit. I'm not going to go too crazy with it. I still want to have some of that white showing through, but I'm definitely going to give it some aging. Alright, now with the pigment work done on the exhaust pipes, I'm going to take some metallic paint and I'm going to add a few shiny little details here and there. Of course, I'll be coming back in on some of the areas, like with this exhaust pipe area. I'll add some rust colors later just to give it that look that I see in reference photographs. And I'm also going to impart a nice shiny look to where the drive aspect of the final drives are. They seem to be shiny in some photographs, and in other photographs they're kind of just painted a green color. I don't know what that's about, but I'm going to give mine a nice shiny coat. And then at the very front too, where there's a flywheel, I'm going to give it a nice shiny dry brushing as well. I'm using a couple of shininesses of metallic. I'll come back in later with another more chromy looking shiny metallic, and I'll dry brush that on. Also in the front, I notice that there's a little bit of a gold part that's right in the middle of the flywheel, so I'll just impart a little bit of a gold with that. Also on these side final drive pieces, I notice in some photographs that there's a bit of a brassy look to some of the metal, so I actually entered into combining a little bit of the Mr. Color, you know, silvery color with a brass color, just to maybe give it a little bit of warmth. I'll probably come back and shine that up even more, I think. But in the meantime, these air filter aspects of the power pack, they could have been a little bit more detailed. Like where I'm painting right now here, you can see. What I've done is I've taken some Tamiya flat black and I've thinned it out quite a bit so that'll sink into the recesses here. Because this is supposed to be like an open venting, you know, and when you look at reference photographs, there's almost like a honeycomb kind of structure that's in there, which is not in this plastic kit. So I don't know, I wish I could do 3D CAD stuff and I might work up a nice little interior detail for this part of it. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make it all go away with a nice black. So I guess in the meantime and in between time, that's another edition of Stampede Wrestling. No, another. So in the meantime and in between time, that's another edition of Jet Scale Models. Be sure to join us on the next video because it's going to be an amazing thing. So have a good day.